ice train. Now normally a ticket during summer is around $240, but we got the early bird special, so it was half off. We went up to the very top. When you get off the train, you get into like these cave tunnels. We made it out to the ice plateau and were able to get an incredible view of the glacier below. After, we went to the top of the Sphinx Observatory to get some more amazing views. One of the coolest parts of Jungfraujoch is the glacier tunnels. You're able to walk through these tunnels carved right out of the ice. While a trip to Jungfraujoch is expensive, I definitely recommend that everyone try it at least once in their life. After exploring the Swiss Alps, we're gonna head to Finland. Now the capital of Finland is Helsinki. It's been ranked as one of the happiest and most livable cities in the world. Helsinki is one of the northernmost metropolitan areas, and the whole city just has a great vibe to it. I would love to spend Christmas here. If you want to see some of Finland's nature, you can head up north to visit Lapland. Now Lapland is Finland's northernmost region and it borders Russia, Sweden, and Norway. In the winter months, Lapland becomes a frozen wonderland that looks like something straight out of a Disney movie. Now if you can handle the cold, Lapland may be one of the best places in the world to see the northern lights. The northern lights are abundant throughout the cold winter months. It can get up to negative 50 degrees Celsius in the winters, so make sure you bundle up. One thing I love about Lapland is the snow-covered trees. They look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. In the summertime, Lapland becomes a peaceful area with wildlife and endless nature. I really just want to spend some time in Finland, relaxing in a sauna and seeing for myself why Finland is the happiest country in the world. After Finland, we're going to head over to Sweden to visit the capital of Stockholm. It's made up of 14 islands and 50 bridges. Compared to other Nordic countries such as Norway and Iceland, I felt Sweden was much more affordable. I just love the buildings and architecture there. It reminded me a lot of Copenhagen with its colorful buildings and canals full of wooden ships. I mean, it's just such a wonderful city, and I think everyone should give it a visit. Afterwards, we're going to Belgium to visit the medieval city of Bruges. Due to its tidal inlets and canals, Bruges is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the North. Bruges' tidal inlet helped it become one of the most prosperous cities during the Middle Ages as it quickly became a strategic location for maritime trade routes. Today, most of Bruges' medieval structures have remained intact. One of my favorite features of the city is the market square. It's towered over by a 277-foot medieval bell tower of Belfry, which was constructed in the 13th century. Just such an impressive and unique medieval city. After Belgium, we're going to head over to the German village of Rothenburg. When you go to Rothenburg, you feel like you're walking into a fantasy movie. It's one of the most preserved medieval towns in Europe. During the Middle Ages, Rothenburg thrived as it was located at the crossroads of the European trade routes. At the beginning of the 15th century, it rose to become the second largest city in Germany, but during the 17th century, Rothenburg faced adversities such as the 30 Years' War and the bubonic plague. Without much resources, Rothenburg's growth was halted, which aided in keeping the town preserved in its medieval state. Today, Rothenburg maintains its medieval charm. It's been the inspiration for Disney movies such as Pinocchio and Beauty and the Beast. If you can, go check out the famous Plonine Corner or the Christmas market. It's hard to beat the allure of this German village. After Rothenburg, we're going to visit possibly the most iconic city in the world, London. I love the city so much, I just keep coming back. Everything from double-decker buses to the energy of Piccadilly Circus makes the city feel so alive. There's just so many places to see. You can check out the iconic Big Ben and walk across the bridge to see the Palace of Westminster. There's the Tower Bridge, which is possibly the most famous bridge in all London. You can go see the Stoic Guards at Buckingham Palace or take a ride on the London Eye. If you haven't already been to London, I'd highly recommend visiting when you can. It's hard to beat the London atmosphere. There's no city like it in the world. Alright, so after exploring London, we're going to make the 2-hour drive over to Stonehenge. Located in Wiltshire, England, lies one of the most famous man-made rock structures in the world. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Stonehenge, like what was its purpose and how was it made. Archaeologists believe it was constructed back between 3000 to 2000 BC. Stonehenge consists of a ring of rocks, each being around 13 feet high and weighing nearly 25 tons each. It's unclear what the exact purpose of Stonehenge was. It's believed that it was used as an astronomical observatory or a religious site. Either way, it sure makes you stop and think how people thousands of years ago were able to construct this. After Stonehenge, we're going to head over to visit Wales. Now, Wales is located in the southwest part of Great Britain. It's famous for its mountainous national parks, picturesque coastline, and distinct Welsh language. One of the most scenic places in Wales is the Snowdonia National Park. It's a region in northwest West Wales that is known for its mountains and lakes. The highest peak in Wales, Mount Snowdon, is located in the park with an elevation of 1,085 meters. You can hike on up there, or you can take the Snowdon Mountain Railway to the top. If you're lucky, you might be able to see Ireland across the sea. After Wales, we're going to head back to Switzerland to explore Lucerne. Located in the heart of Switzerland, Lucerne is a picturesque lake city surrounded by the Swiss Alps. It's just a short 40-minute drive from Zurich. One of my favorite parts of Lucerne is all of its medieval buildings and architecture. Lucerne is home to Chapel Bridge, which is the world's oldest surviving truss bridge. It was built over 600 years ago in 1365. It almost burnt down in 1993, but it was reconstructed and it's now open to the public. Another impressive place in Lucerne is the Museum Wall and Towers. The fortifications began in the 13th century, and it's made up of 9 stone towers that were used as a defense wall during medieval times. Aside from all the history, Lucerne is just a beautiful city to walk around and explore the lake and all the surrounding scenery. While we're still in Switzerland, we're going to head over to the capital of Bern. Now, in my opinion, I think Bern is one of Europe's most beautiful capitals. I love how the blue waters of the Aare River winds perfectly through the city. Now, Bern's origins date back to the 12th century, and today the capital hosts a population of just over 1 million people. Now, one of the most impressive places in Bern is the Old City. It's the medieval part of Bern. One of the most prominent features is the Cathedral of Bern. It started construction in 1421 and is the tallest cathedral in all of Switzerland at a height of 100 meters. Bern is just such a wonderful city, and I hope you all can visit one day. Another one of my favorite capitals is Denmark's Copenhagen. Now, Copenhagen started as a Viking fishing village in the 10th century. Today, Copenhagen is the cultural, economic, and governmental center of Denmark. One of the most recognizable places in Copenhagen is the Nyhavn Canal. It's a 17th century canal that is lined with beautifully colored houses and historical wooden ships. It's just a great place to walk around and enjoy some Danish restaurants and cafes. Another impressive spot in the city is the Copenhagen Opera House. It's one of the most modern and expensive opera houses ever built, with an estimated cost of $500 million. Copenhagen is just such a great city to walk around and explore all the hidden treasures. After Denmark, let's head over to the beautiful city of Tallinn. Located in Estonia on the coast of the Baltic Sea, Tallinn received its city rights in the year 1248, and during medieval times, it quickly became a major trading hub due to its strategic positioning. As for the city, one of the most impressive places is Tallinn's Old Town. It's one of Europe's most well-preserved medieval cities. I just love all the buildings and architecture there. Tallinn was also just featured in Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet. If you haven't seen that yet, your mind's gonna be blown. Anyways, if you want to visit one of Europe's most trending cities, you have to give Tallinn a visit. After, we're going to visit Montenegro's coastal town of Kotor. Located in what some consider to be Europe's southernmost fjord, Kotor is one of the most well-preserved medieval old towns in all the Balkans. It's grown in popularity over the years, and it's a popular cruise ship stop. If you want to get one of the best views of Kotor, you can drive up the Serpentine Road to get a panoramic view of the entire bay and surrounding mountains. I mean, just what a beautiful city. From Kotor, you can make the 30-minute drive over to the nearby islet of Sveti Stefan. It's this 15th century island fortress that has been converted to a 5-star luxury resort. If you can afford it, it would be quite the place to stay. While we're still in Montenegro, we're going to check out the Beutyful Placess Bridge. This is one of the coolest arch bridges that I've ever seen. The bridge was finished in 1940, and it consists of 5 arches, with its highest being over 564 feet above the river below. I mean, just such a crazy looking bridge. Alright, after Montenegro, we're gonna head over to the neighboring country of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Known for its beautiful rivers, medieval bridges, and fascinating history, it's quite the place to visit. Now, one of my favorite places in the country is the city of Mostar. The most popular feature of the city is the Old Bridge. It's an Ottoman bridge from the 16th century. It stood for 427 years until it was destroyed in 1983 during the Croat-Bosniak War, but in 2004 it was rebuilt. Another really cool spot in Bosnia is the Kravica waterfalls. Only a 40-minute drive from Mostar, the Kravica waterfalls are home to an incredible amphitheater of cascading waterfalls, with some as high as 25 meters tall. What's cool is they let you swim there, so it's just a great place to spend during the warm summer months. Afterwards, we're going to head over to Greece to visit the medieval monasteries of Meteora. Located in central Greece, Meteora is home to 6 monasteries built upon nearly inaccessible rock pillars. During the 14th century, monks were facing attacks from Turkish raiders, so they needed a place where they could worship in safety. They decided to start building the monasteries upon the rocks. These places of worship were perfect for the monks because the only way to reach them was by climbing long ladders. The monasteries became a place of refuge, and over 20 monasteries were built during the 14th century. I was lucky enough to go here a few years ago. When I got there, I was just amazed by the architecture of these monasteries. They are perched perfectly on the cliff edge, and you wonder how people could have built these in the medieval times. If you're ever in Greece, make sure you visit this magical place. Another incredible spot in northern Greece is Mount Olympus, or otherwise known as the mythical mountain of the gods. At 9,570 feet high, it's the highest mountain in all of Greece. According to Greek mythology, this is where Zeus and other Greek gods resided. If you want to hike the mountain of the gods, it's recommended to do the hike in 2 to 3 days, and I'd recommend having a guide because it can be quite dangerous and a confusing hike. While we're still in Greece, we're going to head over to the iconic city of Athens. It's the capital and largest city in Greece, and it's one of the world's oldest cities. Athens is such a wild place with so much history. One of my favorite places in Athens is the Acropolis. If you want to get into Parthenon, it costs about 20 euros, so it's a little expensive, but it's totally worth it, especially if you're there. When I went to the Acropolis, I was able to get some of my favorite time lapses over the city. There's just an endless sea of white buildings with mountains in the background. If you do go to Greece, I recommend exploring Athens for at least a day or two. It's just such a unique place. After, we're going to head over to Bulgaria to visit Sofia. Located in western Bulgaria, Sofia is the country's capital. One of the most famous places in Sofia is the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. It was completed in 1912. I love the gold-plated dome roofs. It has just such a unique look to it. While we're still in Bulgaria, we're going to head over to the east coast to visit Varna. Now, Varna is located right on the coast of the Black Sea. I went there last summer to film a video for a hotel, and I had no expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised by its beauty and history. It reminded me a lot of California's coastline. It had great beaches, wonderful weather, with tons of entertainment. Now, another interesting spot in Bulgaria is the Belogradchik Fortress. It's located in the Balkan Mountains. It's this ancient fortress among some really unique rock formations. The fortress was captured by the Ottomans in the 14th century. The thing that strikes me about the area is how they incorporated the rocks into the fortresses. I mean, just such a unique place. I've never seen anything like it. After Bulgaria, we're going to head up north to Romania to visit the medieval castles of Transylvania. Now, Transylvania is a very intriguing yet spooky region. Transylvania is where Bram Stoker's novel Count Dracula takes place. Now, one of the most famous locations in Transylvania is the Ran Castle. Located near the city of Brasov, the castle was built around the 14th century and served as a fortification against the Ottoman Empire. Due to its dramatic architecture and possible connection to Vlad the Impaler, the castle has been named Dracula's Castle. I could totally imagine Count Dracula using this castle as his hideout. Now, Romania is also home to this really cool road called the Transfiguration Road. It's full of hairpin turns, and it's easy to see why it's one of the most popular roads in all of Europe. After Romania, let's head back to Norway to visit the Lofoten Islands. Lofoten is located in northern Norway, and even though it's in the Arctic Circle, it feels like you're on a tropical island there. I was lucky enough to go there about 2 summers ago, and I had an incredible journey road tripping through Lofoten. Our first pit stop was at this fishing village called Henningsjar to see the world's most scenic football field. When we got there, we sadly didn't have a soccer ball, but we had a good time playing on the field and enjoying the incredible views of Henningsvar. We kept on driving and made it to the iconic town of Rain. Now, when you think of Norway, this is it. It has those red houses surrounded by massive sea mountains. In my opinion, I'd have to say that Rain is the most beautiful town in Lofoten. When I was planning my road trip to Norway, I remember seeing pictures of this place and I just couldn't believe it existed. After Lofoten, we're gonna head to Saltstraumen to witness one of the world's largest whirlpools. So over 110 billion gallons of water passed through this 3-kilometer straight every 6 hours, making for one of the strongest currents in the world. Now, water speeds can reach over 37 kilometers. One of the coolest features of Saltstraumen is the whirlpools that the changing tides make. Now, while they aren't the whirlpools you'd imagine in movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, These whirlpools can get over 33 feet in diameter with a depth of over 16 feet. You can take a boat ride through the current, or you can witness the whirlpools from the bridge above. After the whirlpools, we're going to take a drive to one of Norway's most famous routes, the Atlantic Ocean Road. This 8.3-kilometer road runs across an archipelago of islands as it connects the islands of Averøy to the Romsdal Peninsula. The Atlantic Ocean Road was completed in 1989 and cost 122 million Norwegian krone to make. It's made up of 8 bridges and 4 resting places. The route is an impressive feat of engineering, and it won the Norwegian Construction of the Century Award. So if you decide to go on a Norway road trip, you have to take a drive on the Atlantic Ocean Road. While we're still on the topic of roads, if you drive just 2 hours south, you'll reach another one of Norway's most famous routes, Trollstigen. Now Trollstigen, or the Troll's Path, is a serpentine road that makes over 11 hairpin turns as it descends on a 10% decline to the valley below. Trollstigen has 2 powerful waterfalls that pass through the road. The Stigfossen waterfall has a total height of 240 meters. I mean, that's just freaking huge. Another really cool place in the area is Trollveggen, or the Troll's Wall. It's Europe's tallest vertical overhanging rock face at about 3,600 feet high. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Alright, after Trollstigen, you can make the 2-hour drive south to visit the Geiranger Fjord. Now, Geiranger Fjord is one of Norway's most popular destinations. The fjord is over 260 meters deep and is surrounded by massive mountains that are over 1,600 meters high. There are many viewpoints to get the best perspective of the fjord. One of the most spectacular features of Geiranger Fjord is the Seven Sisters waterfall. The waterfall consists of 7 separate streams that descend 410 meters to the water below. The best way to see the fjord is by boat. You can take a cruise ship or a 1-hour ferry of Geiranger to Helisilt for about $35. This is by far the best way to witness the waterfalls and majesty of the fjord. After exploring the fjords, we're going to head back to the Arctic Circle to visit one of the most northern places in all of Europe, Svalbard. Now, Svalbard is located right between the North Pole and Norway. The capital of Svalbard is this town called Longyearbyen, which has a population of a whopping 2,000 people. What's cool about Svalbard is that it's a visa-free zone, so basically anyone can move and work there. The archipelago is also home to the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, where thousands of the world's seeds are kept in case of a global catastrophe. After Svalbard, we're going to head over to Russia to visit Moscow. Moscow is the world's most northernmost and coldest megacity. It's also Europe's second most popular city with over 12.4 million residents. One of the coolest places in Moscow is St. Basil's Cathedral. It was completed in 1561 under orders of Ivan the Terrible. It has such a unique look with its colorful onion-shaped domes. Right next to the cathedral is the Moscow Kremlin. It's a fortified complex that was completed in 1495. It serves as the official residence of Vladimir Putin, so it's basically the Russian equivalent of the White House. One of the most stunning buildings, in my opinion, is the Moscow State University. It reminds me of a scene straight out of a Batman movie. I mean, there's just so many intriguing places to visit in Moscow. What a wild place. Russia is also home to the tallest mountain in Europe, Mount Elbrus. Located in southwestern Russia stands this massive 18,510 foot high stratovolcano. It's the 10th most prominent peak in the world. Now, it's a dormant volcano with 2 peaks. I mean, the mountains in the area remind me a lot of the Swiss Alps. I just can't believe how big they are. So if you want to hike to the top of Mount Elbrus, climbing isn't very technical. You're mostly walking with crampons on snow to the top, but the climb can be very challenging due to altitude and unpredictable weather. A lot of people compare its difficulty to climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. While I've never been to Russia, I'd love to summit this mountain one day. I just think it would be such an adventure. Afterwards, we're going to head over to Turkey to visit the notorious city of Istanbul. Fascinating places. It's a transcontinental city, which means that Istanbul is part of both Europe and Asia. The Bosphorus Strait, which is considered to be the boundary between Europe and Asia, runs right through the capital. Istanbul is the most populated city of all of Europe, with a population of over 15 million. The history of Istanbul is endless. It was settled as far back as 7th century BC, and it became the capital of the Roman Empire in the year 330 AD. One of my favorite features of the city is the Galata Tower. It's a uniquely shaped medieval building building that dominates the skyline. It was built in 1348 and the tower was used to spot fires. One of the most important features of Istanbul is the Hagia Sophia. It was built all the way back in the year 537 AD as a Christian church, but after the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the church was converted to a mosque by the Ottoman Empire. At the time of its completion, it was the world's largest interior space and the first building to use a fully pendative dome. Just such an amazing structure. After, we're going to visit the famous city of Barcelona. Now, when you think of Spain, this is what you probably imagine. Barcelona is home to incredible architecture, Mediterranean beaches, and an energetic vibe all around. The most iconic attraction in Barcelona is La Sagrada Familia. It's this Roman Catholic minor basilica that began construction over 138 years ago, and it still isn't finished. It's anticipated that construction will be finished in 2026, but who knows? All I know is one of the most unique buildings in the world, and I still can't get my head around that it's been in construction since 1882. After Barcelona, we're going to head over to the wild island of Ibiza. Now, while Ibiza is known for crazy nightlife and party city, it also has some of the world's best beaches and cliff jumping. Me and my brother decided to go to Ibiza for Halloween because why not? Anyways, we spent the first few days exploring the island, and honestly, I was pretty disappointed because I couldn't find any really cool cliff jump spots. But on our last day, when we had just a few hours before our plane was about to take off, and we found this secluded cove, we hiked down and made sure the water was deep enough, and we found this perfect cliff, and I threw some jumps off, and then my brother did a wild double backflip off the cliff. Another incredible place in Spain is the volcanic Canary Islands. They're located off the coast of northwestern Africa. Canary Islands are home to some of the world's most unique landscapes. You might as well call them the Hawaiian Islands of Europe because that's what they remind me of. The biggest and most populated island on the archipelago is called Tenerife. One of the craziest places in Tenerife is the cliffs of Los Gigantes. They are these massive sheer cliff walls that rise 800 meters out of the ocean. While we're still in the Atlantic Ocean, we're going to head over to Portugal's archipelago of the Azores. Located right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the Azores are a group of 9 islands like none other. They remind me of a hybrid between New Zealand and Hawaii with its rolling pastures and green scenery. The largest island on the Azores is São Miguel. One of the most stunning places on the island is Lago das Sete Ciudades. It's a twin lake situated in the crater of a volcano. The highest point in the Azores and all of Portugal is the massive Mount Pico. The stratovolcano is over 7,713 feet high and last erupted in 1720. While we're still in Portugal, we're going to head over to the island of Madeira. Located off the northwest coast of Africa, Madeira is an archipelago of 4 islands. It was claimed by Portugal in 1419. Madeira is known for its idle climate, rugged mountains, and also the birthplace of Cristiano Ronaldo. One of the coolest places in Madeira is Pico do Arriero. It's Madeira's 3rd highest peak. The weather on top can be quite unpredictable. You might get lucky and be above the clouds. After, we're going to head to the 2nd largest island in the Mediterranean, Sardinia. Now, with some of Europe's best coastline, pristine beaches, and the clearest water you've ever seen, Sardinia is the place to be. One of the most impressive places on Sardinia is the Beutyful coast. It isn't the easiest place to reach. Most beaches require a long hike or a trip by boat, but that's what makes it so special. After Sardinia, we're going to head back to Italy's mainland to visit the capital of Rome. Now, Rome may be the most famous and iconic capital in the world. Its history spans over 28 centuries, with its founding taking place in the year 1753 BC. During ancient times, Rome's population peaked around 1 million people. It's just crazy to think that a city was so advanced that it could support so many people during that time. Ancient Rome's architecture stands today and draws millions of tourists each year. One of the most well-known structures of the capital is the Colosseum. It's the largest amphitheater built at its time and could hold anywhere from 50 to 80,000 spectators. You can marvel at its architecture from the outside or take a guided tour to witness the interior. One of my personal favorite attractions in Rome is the Trevi Fountain. It's this Baroque-style fountain that was completed in 1762. If you do go, the earlier the better because you can get super crowded there. While we're still in Italy, we're going to head over to the nearby San Marino. The Republic of San Marino is a microstate completely enclosed by Italy. The history of this small country is absolutely fascinating. It was founded by a stonemason from Croatia named Saint Marinus. After facing persecution for his Christian sermons, he fled to the mountain of Monte Titano, where he built a church and founded the small country in the year 301 AD. San Marino claims to be the oldest surviving sovereign state and the oldest constitutional republic. country is the city of San Marino, and it's situated on the slopes of Monte Titano. It's hard to beat the location of the city. One of the most iconic spots in San Marino is the fortress of Guaita. It was built in the 11th century and served as a prison. San Marino is just such a beautiful yet interesting city and country, and I hope you all can visit. Alright, for our final location, we're going to head back to northern Norway to visit Senja. Now, Senja is Norway's second largest island. The reason I wanted to go to Senja was because I wanted to hike to Segla. Anyways, I drove to this town called Fjordard, and I got to the base of the hike. It was a surprisingly difficult hike, but eventually I made it to the top, and I was just baffled by the view. The rock formation rose hundreds of meters out of the ocean. It was just like nothing I've ever seen before. Now, I was just having an amazing time, and I decided I wanted to spend the night on top of the mountain so I could see the northern lights. All I had was a blanket, and I used my camera bag as a pillar, so I found this little mossy cliff ledge, and I set up camp there and waited for the northern lights to show up. Around 11 p.m., I woke up to the aurora borealis above my head. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They moved surprisingly fast, like snakes in the Arctic sky. And seeing those lights made me feel like a kid again, and it will forever be one of the most special nights of my life. Some nights you don't need to fall asleep to start dreaming. Well, that is it for my Europe Top 100. Let me know in the comments where your favorite place is in Europe. I mean, there's just so many beautiful attractions. I could probably do a top 1,000 video. You guys are welcome. I started a relaxation channel where I post hour-long videos of places such as Switzerland and Scotland with calming music that you can just have playing in the background to bring some peace and nature in your life. You can find me on Instagram at